I'm Greg, and you're listening to Totally Preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable. Totally preventable.
Totally preventable. Totally preventable.
So
Who we got today, Greg?
today on Totally Preventable, the podcast, I like saying that, we have Becky White from Youth Driven.
Yeah, you call her Becky?
I call her Becky.
All
I feel
right.
like I'm big time. I feel like I'm in that club, so I could say Becky now.
Yeah, all right.
But wherever you go, you're pretty much Youth Driven.
Yeah.
She's been doing a lot of great work, partnered with a lot of great organizations, and hearing her story, hearing her speak is very captivating.
Yep, absolutely. She's not just talking about the dangers of drunk driving. She's also engages in distracted driving and driving under the influence of any substance.
Right.
I think some other things too.
She's just very personable. She's got a great, just a great personality, a great person to be around. You can see why the youth really gravitate towards her.
Yeah.
I know she's got some great ways, and hopefully she talks about how she gets that buy-in from the youth. And I can't wait to dive in and hear a little bit more about Youth Driven. I know like the outskirts, I know those things, but I really want to get into meat and potatoes, as they say.
Okay. All right.
Hey, without further ado, today joining us on Totally Preventable, the podcast, we have Becky White, the program coordinator for Youth Driven. Becky, how are you?
Greg, thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be on. I'm doing great, and I'm honored to be on today.
Right. And to start off, can you just tell us about you? Who are you?
All right. Well, my name is Becky White. I grew up in Narragansett, Rhode Island, so I'm a Rhode Islander through and through. And I've been involved in prevention since I was 14 after I was involved in a drunk driving crash. So my journey to prevention started in a tragic way, but it has led me to introducing myself to many wonderful coalitions across the state like yours. And I just started my work in prevention. I started working with MAD Rhode Island when I was in high school. I was involved in my SAD group back in high school as well, and then continued my journey with prevention when I went to college at Roger Williams University. I became a health and wellness educator, and also was publicly speaking on the side as an independent public speaker. And I was speaking about the dangers of drunk driving specifically. But over the years, I've developed that program into something called 5 Simple Guidelines, which I do on my own now on the side after being a mom and also running Youth Driven. So I wear many hats, but I love prevention work. I think it's so important, especially when we start with youth, because let's educate and inspire and empower them young, and they will become the next force to be reckoned with when it comes to prevention. So that's a little bit about myself. I have a beautiful little son named Gabe, and I'm married to the love of my life named Drew, and life's good. And I have an amazing little dog that's underneath my desk right now. He is a golden doodle named Rizzo. So that's a little bit about me.
That's great. Good thing you didn't forget about your dog.
No, I can't, because I can't even move my feet right now because he's taking up all the space.
Can you tell us a little bit about the program Youth Driven and its mission?
Sure. So Youth Driven is a youth leadership program led by the Rhode Island Students Assistance Services, otherwise known as RISAS, and it's supported by Rhode Island Department of Transportation Office on Highway Safety. Youth Driven is a year-round Rhode Island high school program, and it begins with an educational summit that we hold every summer in August. And that is where students create an action plan that they take back to their schools and communities all around traffic safety. So we focus on drunk driving, impaired driving, distracted, seatbelt safety, as well as speeding safety. So they learn and they see presenters at the summit that they might be interested in bringing into their own schools. So it gives them ideas, it gives them the tools, and gets them excited about traffic safety, because here at Youth Driven, we really feel that it's a unifying topic. everybody gets on behind the wheel, everybody gets into a vehicle, and whether or not someone is struggling with a substance or emotionally, we are all on the road. So this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, but also something that we all face every single day by getting on the road. So that's a little bit about Youth Driven, and our mission for Youth Driven is to provide Rhode Island youth and their adult advisors with the motivation, information, skills, and support necessary to organize events and activities that support traffic safety efforts within their communities. So that's a little bit about what we're all about.
Now, is it hard to get buy-in from the youth? I know sometimes it might just fall on deaf ears when you're talking about substance use and getting behind the wheel. Do you find it a hard buy-in, a hard sell?
So the youth that tend to drift towards Youth Driven are the students that are interested in prevention, maybe have been personally impacted by this topic, specifically drunk driving or impaired driving, maybe have lost a loved one or even classmate to this horrific, totally preventable topic of drunk driving and impaired driving. So we get kiddos like that. We also get kiddos that get signed up by their parents. You know, we have a lot of prevention families that I'm close with, and they tend to have they encourage their child to attend. But once they get to the summit, I'm telling you that we have a ton of fun at the summit. It's 3 days at Bryant University. There's a dance. There's a lot of interaction. You meet kids from across the state. And by the time it's like lunchtime, afternoon on the first day, they're in. They get it. They see what our mission's all about, and they see all these other students that are invested. And so that's where, you know, the true passion lies. But these kids, I'm so honored to work with the kids that I get to work with, and they are truly so incredible. Their resumes are incredible. They are incredible as individuals and people, and they're just learning as well. So it does get hard, though, for sure. It does get hard. Going back to your question of, you know, how do you get buy-in? It's hard could be, and mainly because it's not that they're not interested. They are so busy. And I know that's an excuse, but at the same time, they are so busy. They are under so much stress. A friend and I were talking this past weekend, and, you know, we used to talk about, you know, you do your homework when you got home, and then you go play outside. That doesn't happen that much anymore, I feel like. So there's extracurriculars, there's after school things, there's sports. And then even if they're not, maybe their sibling is, so they're getting dragged around to do those. So I say, you know, for any prevention coalition or anybody working with youth, don't give up on them. They're there, they're listening. And it's also about how to reach them. You know, they're not checking their email.
Yeah.
As much as I wish they would, they're not. So it gets tricky for sure, but using like Remind app, whether you can send a text message or use social media to that advantage, you know, get a social media account. It's all on how you can reach them, and they do care. They're just really busy. So, but yeah, it's hard for sure.
We were having a conversation, I can't remember with who, but someone else, about how prevention people's kids are often pushed into prevention activities. And I know one of my daughters got kind of roped into going to another leadership thing at Bryant about 4 years ago because someone backed out and they didn't want to give up the spot. They had already paid for it. She kind of went reluctantly. She didn't know anyone. She had the best time. Like, she made friends throughout the region. Like, it was I think it was a New England conference. Like, amazing, a lot of fun. Like, she really thought there was going to be really straight, I don't want to say nerdy, but, you know, like, she wasn't going to have anything in common, and they were going to be very serious kids. And that wasn't the case at all. It was all sorts of kids, and she met tons of friends. So
yeah, it's hard to sell a traffic safety summit in the middle of the summer in August. It's really hard to sell, but once the students get there, it is life-changing for some students. I've had students reach out after and say, you know, this made me feel welcome. This made me feel like I wasn't alone. You know, I don't really have a place at my school, and I've been with the same kids since kindergarten. So it's an opportunity for students to meet other kids that they probably wouldn't have met otherwise in our little small state. I know that's crazy, but it is true. You get stuck in your ways, you get stuck in your school, and there aren't that many opportunities to face meet people, have to do icebreakers with them and get to know their names. And it's really something we've taken for granted the past 2 years, especially with COVID.
Mhm.
So, that was a challenge for sure for all of us in prevention. Um, but I'm so thankful that we could have it in person again and get the kids together, because they've really missed out on the last 2 years of personal interaction.
Right.
Mhm.
So what can kids expect when they join Youth Driven?
Sure. So Youth Driven is completely voluntary, and our main event, like I had mentioned, was our summit. And we have some students that sign up to be student leaders. And what that means is they would be leaders at the summit, and then kind of continuing throughout the whole year, throughout the school year, whether they're sending out social media messages or helping me with projects to get in touch with the other students. And then if a student would like to contact me, feel free to contact me at my email at youthdrivenri@gmail.com. And I'm happy to get you started. And it can be as simple as, putting up a bulletin board in the school around traffic safety facts. And I can help you with that. Whether you want to target maybe impaired driving, specifically marijuana, because that's a hot topic. A lot of people don't know what the laws are. A lot of people aren't even aware that it's dangerous to get behind the wheel impaired, never mind illegal, and to understand why is that the case. And I know there's a lot of misconceptions with it being safe behind the wheel. So we could do a bulletin board in your school, or we could just simply do morning announcements, a few simple morning announcements that get kids involved. And some groups are more active than others. So some other groups meet once a week, once a month, and they have different initiatives, and they're either within their SAD group or maybe an above the influence group. You don't have to necessarily have a youth driven group. I know that many schools like to focus on many different topics, which is great. Traffic safety is just a piece to many things that students are working on. So whether it be substance use or substance misuse or anything from mental health. So so if a student is interested, they can contact me. We have an array of presenters that are completely free that you could have come to your school around traffic safety. So we have a lot of different things you can find, especially on our website. If you go to our website at youthdriven.org, you can see a lot more.
Now, do you assist with parents or youth who like a youth-driven program in their school? Do you assist with how to approach the administration on how to get them started?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing we'll do is I would meet with a parent and the student who's interested. We'd make a game plan. I'd hear what they're interested in doing, how big or how small. Some kids just might want it to be 1 or 2 kids. Some kids might be really motivated and say, this is a really important topic. I really want to get a lot of kids involved. So no matter what, after I meet with them, I would always meet with administration and introduce myself and simply say, we're a resource here in the state. It's completely free. And we want you to know that we're here and we're willing to support your student if you would like this program or like help with getting this started in the school. So, and I understand administration has a lot on their plate. And when I am able to sit down and actually meet with them, it just gives a quick overview of what we do, what we offer, and a little bit less stress than just having a student approach them and say, I want to start this club. Is that okay? It kind of gives a background of, this is who we are. We're here as a support, and I'm here to support your student. I just want to let you know that, your student is very eager to start. So.
Yeah. And another thing you said, and we talked about how busy our youth are. Is there a specific time constraint that would be on it? Is there a time that they should dedicate to make this, or is it based upon how large they want their program to be?
I let them just choose how involved, how not involved they're going to be, and it depends, it depends on how much the student has on their plate. The last thing I want for any student is for them to feel more stressed out because of this program. That's not helping anyone. So I leave it up to the students, and they're great with figuring out what works for them, what works within their school, and what they can commit to.
Now, can you tell us more about other programs that are provided by Youth Driven?
Sure. So one that I actually didn't mention was our Excuse Yourself program. And that one is more about myself coming into the classroom and presenting about how to prevent students from getting into a car with an impaired driver. That is something I offer throughout the school year so that I can introduce myself and the youth-driven program, but also give these incredible refusal skills to any student, whether they're in youth-driven or not. So we presented to over 1,400 students last year within the state, which was great. I'm hoping to present to more this year, but again, it's called Excuse Yourself. And throughout the presentation, it's about a 45 to 40-minute presentation that can be done in a health class or in a break study or any sort of filler period. I had a couple schools actually mark one day that I would present in this one classroom for the entire 8th grade, for example, just so that they could get all the 8th graders in one day. So it depends on how the school would like to do it, but it's appropriate for around 7th to 12th graders, but I really focus on the, 8th graders, 9th, 10th. I feel that with this topic, they're not driving yet, and they have to figure out ways to excuse themselves from these situations, whether it's anyone in their life. So again, it's to educate them on how to not get into a car. And throughout the presentation, there's 3 scenarios. I talk about, first of all, the dangers of alcohol, what that means, what BAC is, kind of a refresher for them, what a standardized drink is, what that looks like. And then I talk about drugs and how and why it's dangerous to get behind the wheel after using drugs. So we also talk about marijuana in that short segment of, know that it's illegal. Here's why it's illegal. After that, we then go through 3 scenarios. The first scenario is I put on the board, I say, if you were at your soccer practice and your older sibling came to pick you up and they were drunk, what would you do? So I let the students sit with that question. They talk amongst themselves in small little groups, and then we reconvene. And I say, what would you do? Think about where you are. Think about you're not all by yourself, right? You're at the soccer field. So who could you rely on? And I get them to just start thinking about these real life situations in a calm classroom setting. So that way, if they, God forbid, are ever in these situations, they can think on their feet, they can get themselves to safety. And the most important thing is don't get in the car. So that's the first scenario. The second scenario is you want to go to your friend's house and a parent or guardian just has a medical marijuana license and chooses to smoke before driving you. What do you do? So this gets a lot of pushback. Sometimes it can get a little interesting, this conversation, but it is just a conversation to get them thinking about, driving under the influence of marijuana, no matter if they have a marijuana license or not, it's illegal, and know that, and that it's important to know that. And so the 3 things we teach the students is we give them 3 ways to get out of the situation: avoid, excuse yourself, or tell a trusted adult. And we think it's important to not escalate the situation, but give them these tools to get out of the situation. And we always encourage them to then talk to someone about it, whether it be a relative, a grandparent, a cousin, a sibling, anyone they trust, to let them know that this is happening, and to know that you got to keep yourself safe and that you're not alone. And I also mentioned throughout the presentation that this is extremely common, extremely common. It happens every day, and it's not their fault. So that's the Excuse Yourself program. And we've been getting a lot of great results from it. So I'm really excited about it. But that's something I do throughout the school year to get into the classrooms and just educate about this topic. But really, it's refusal skills for anything, any sort of situation a student might be in. So,
Right.
As an adult, I find the hardest one when someone that is driving me and they're texting or using their phone. Like if someone is drinking, or I can always say, oh, let me drive. I haven't been drinking, and I don't know anyone that's like, no, let me drive. Everyone's always like, oh yeah. But text, because I'm just doing this quick response, or that's a hard one, like, let me respond. No, that's a hard one, and you're usually already on the road then too. So you're already in the act of moving. So that's a difficult one.
Those 2 examples that you just gave, I could just imagine, being in that situation, an older
Mhm.
sibling, you're out of practice, it's a long way home. First, you have the pressure, like, well, my sibling wouldn't lie to me. There, if they say they're fine, they're fine. And then you have the pressure of, how am I going to get home if I don't go this way? I
Mhm.
don't want to tell mom and dad because then they're going to get in trouble. I don't want to tell my coach because now he's going to think my, sibling is an addict or something like that. It's
Mhm.
Yeah.
the pressure and the amount, but I mean, your safety, you got to really,
Absolutely.
wow, those are great
They are.
scenarios,
Yeah.
They're real life scenarios that these kids face.
right?
And they
Right.
can, even after they leave, they can always be thinking about them too,
Right.
like, oh, that would be a good way for me to get out of that.
And it's something that actually happens. That's the part I like
Yes,
about
yeah.
it. It's something that it's real. It's not something far-fetched where a kid is seeing it and saying, "That doesn't happen."
Yeah. It's not the typical scenario. You're at a party and you need to
Right.
get home. And some of these kids aren't going to parties.
Exactly.
Some of these kids are in real life situations that the people around them are making bad choices. How do you get yourself safely home? So
Mm.
So if someone is thinking about the youth summit and is interested in going, could you tell them a little bit about the summit and how they would get involved in that if they didn't have a youth driven in their school? They weren't already.
sure. Yep. So around February of 2023 is when we send out the applications on our website. That's anybody, any Rhode Island high school student can sign up through our website. Again, it's youthdriven.org. And you can sign up and register to attend. You could also register to be a leader. So there's two different applications. You can attend as a participant, which we encourage any Rhode Island high school student to do. Or if you are a junior going into your senior year, you do have to apply to be a leader because a senior going into your college or after graduation year, you do have to apply to be a leader. But to make it less confusing, anybody can apply, and we're open to anybody. So if you have a cousin, relative, or even a good point to say is if you have friends from other schools or you have a cousin that goes to another school, they can sign up as well, as long as the school's in Rhode Island, high schooler. So it's also open to any 8th graders going into their freshman year.
Great.
Mhm.
I think there's a small cost. Is that correct?
No cost.
Oh, okay, awesome. Because I was just going to plug the prevention coalitions and say, I think there used to be a cost.
There used to be a cost.
But I was going to
Yeah.
say, get your coalitions and
Yes.
have them pay your entry fee,
Yeah. So no, there is no cost. So we
Awesome.
found that, it was limiting students and it was scaring students away, even though we had all of the wonderful prevention coalition supporting. I knew that on my end, and I kept telling the students, yes, there's this cost, but don't worry about it. That is a lot for students. So we took away the cost. I work my hardest to just try to find funds and budget correctly so that we can offer this free, because that was really important to me. We want to get an array of students. We want to get students from across the state and from different backgrounds. So we found that let's offer it for free. We also offer free transportation to and from, because we budgeted that in as well, because we found that was another thing that was getting difficult for students and for families. I mean, I understand it's the middle of the summer. You still have to work. There's no way some students could get driven all the way up to Bryant. But yeah, if you live in Westerly or Narragansett or South Kingstown, that is a drive. So,
Yeah.
or Newport. So, yeah.
So we talked about how the youth and how parents can get involved. How can organizations or businesses that want to get involved, that like this cause, that want to be a partner, how important are partnerships to youth driven, and how would a partnership evolve?
Sure. So if anyone would like to support us, you can support us through our website again. And mainly we get a lot of donations towards the summit, but anything left over from that summit through donations we use throughout the year For example, we are hosting a door decorating competition at Hendricken in a few weeks to honor a victim family that lost a loved one. And each of the home rooms are going to decorate the room in honor of that loved one and with an anti-drunk driving message. And for that event, I had to buy about like $200 worth of supplies so that the students could decorate the doors. So with those small little things at different schools, I use those donations towards these events at the schools to support the groups that may not have funding for these extracurricular things. So if an organization would like to partner with us, we are happy to. I am constantly reaching for AAA Northeast. They are an amazing partner with us. We also partner with the Rhode Island Police Chiefs Association all the time, who are always supporting our program because our program goes hand in hand with traffic safety with them. So, but if there's ever an organization, an insurance company, a law firm, anybody that wants to prevent drunk driving, impaired driving, or safe driving messaging, please feel free to contact me.
All right.
Mhm.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yeah.
This has been super informative, and we hope that more kids get involved in this initiative.
Yeah. Thank you.
Amiss to not notice as podcasters, your microphone setup is making me believe that there's a podcaster in the household.
Yes. So I do have a podcast as well. I interview the students and other professionals within traffic safety, and it's called the Youth Driven Podcast, which can also be found on our website, or you can subscribe anywhere you listen to your podcast. It's called Youth Driven Podcast. And if anybody would like to be on the podcast, please feel free to contact me. I'm always looking for people to come on and share their wisdom with us. And I also did want to mention that we also have a few other free programs that are on our website. One is the rollover simulator. That is to educate students on seatbelt safety. It is completely free and run through the Rhode Island State Troopers Association. I'm sorry, the Rhode Island State Troopers. And that just is a car simulation showing what happens to someone when they are or not wearing a seatbelt in a car. It's a great, great visual for health classes. Another one is Think Fast Game Show. This is a interactive game show that goes to the schools and really focuses on traffic safety, whether it be distracted driving, impaired driving, drunk driving, seatbelt safety. And it is an interactive game show. So they hand out clickers to the audience so everybody can be involved. And also they pick kids out of the audience who want to participate and be on stage. It is live, it is loud, it is great, and it is completely free. It is paid for through the Rhode Island Department of Transportation. You can find all that information on our website, but it's a great, great assembly. We get great reviews from it. And they hand out $20 gift cards for Amazon too. So the students aren't walking away with nothing. Yeah, it's really, really great. And then another one that I want to definitely mention is AAA Northeast's Shifting Gears program. They actually teach students about the blunt truth of marijuana and driving. It has been accredited through Brown University. It's a great, great program that was started here by Diana Gugliotta. Shout out to her. And it is now actually nationwide through the SAD clubs, the SAD organization. So it's a wonderful program. Again, completely free. You can find all those websites and links on our website as well.
I just saw the seatbelt presentation at a wellness fair in Tiverton.
Whoa.
It was, I never noticed that they ran it with the seatbelt on, but I'm sure they did. It wasn't right near me, but it would catch my eye when they have a dummy inside, and all of a sudden I would see like the dummy's arm coming out the window, or it was really eye-opening, because I don't know about kids. I think my kids were just like, every time we got in the car, put your seatbelt on, put your seatbelt on, put your seatbelt on. And now they just do it. But I ride with adults often that don't put their seatbelts on. My car makes tons of noise, so I don't even have to say it.
The bells.
They're like, what? Look at that noise. I'm like, put your seatbelt on. But I think it's really good visual for adults too.
Yeah, the students, after seeing the seatbelt simulator, so what happens is they have this car on the back of a flatbed and it rotates. And so they first show what happens when you have the dummies seat belted in. They have a front dummy, they have a driver dummy, I believe, a front passenger dummy, and then a kid dummy in the back. And they rotate it. And I think the simulation's to simulate a 30-mile-an-hour crash. When you think about it, that's not that fast.
Not at all.
And then they stop it, and then they unbuckle the dummies, and then they do the simulation again. And typically the dummies either go out the side window or end up in the back seat. And we always get students that really, I don't know, they by that visual, seeing it, even if they're wearing their seatbelt as the driver and you see someone flailing and hitting the driver, it just makes it real that, put your seatbelt on. It's your safest defense against other drivers on the road, even if you're making all the right choices. But it's that put your seatbelt on sort of message.
It's still amazing the amount of people who aren't wearing the seatbelt or doing their little seatbelt maneuvers. I've seen people get in their car, duck the seatbelt or click it, and then sit in their seat.
Or like push it around like the shoulder strap. It's not going to help you.
No.
It's not going to work the way it needs to if you do that.
No.
It's so second nature for me. I don't even feel
Same.
it.
Right. Yeah. You just get in and
Same. Wear your seatbelt.
Sometimes, like if I'm just moving my car in my driveway it's just so second nature. I'm just buckling up. Backing up in my driveway.
Right.
Safe backing up in my driveway.
You never know. You never know.
You never know. Right. But this has
been wonderful. Thank you so much. Oh, wait, but I did want to ask the pledge. Is there a pledge that still goes on with you, Driven?
So we do offer a pledge. It is on our website. I'm going to try to find it. Let's see. I just want to make sure I say it correctly. But we do, yes. So we have a Just Drive pledge cards that you can download on our website. And the pledge says Just Drive. And at the top it says, I just wanted to let you know that you're awesome and I care about you. And then you write your name on the card and you hand it to someone. And the idea is that you hand it to that person and they put it in their car, whether it's near their ignition, near their starting, where they put their keys or where they put their phone, or maybe put it on top of your phone when you get into your car to remind yourself, I'm not going to text and drive because this person loves me and they want me to get to a safe destination. So those cards are available on our website. You can print them and cut them out and leave them in the cafeteria, leave them wherever you want in the school. So with administration's permission.
I have younger kids. So when I saw that, when I was doing research for this podcast, and I saw that, I was like, wow, when the kids get older or old enough to drive, that's something that I would like to just have to put in there. So
yeah, we just felt that it was good to not say, don't drink and drive, don't do this, don't do that. Nobody responds to don't.
Right.
At all, even if they're like the best kids in the world. It's just not a good message. So remind them that you're loved and somebody really cares about you. So please make good choices. Wear your seatbelt. Don't go over the speed limit. Always drive sober and never, ever, ever drive distracted. And I think it's really important to mention, don't drive drowsy, which is so common for high school students and adults. Let's face it. And it's one of those things that kind of gets forgotten about in prevention. And I always remind the kids and I always say, drive safe, please get a good night's sleep. And let your parents know if you did stay up and do an all-nighter to get work done, have your parent or have someone else pick you up and drive you. Do not get behind the wheel because it's just as bad as getting behind the wheel impaired. So, because you're not fully rested, which you need to drive. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I remember a term that you mentioned, the drowsy driving. I can't remember exactly what it might be, drowsy driving, but I don't think it was that. When people are so accustomed, like you may be driving to work, you drive to work the same way every day, and many times you are completely zoned out. And I can't remember the exact terminology for it, but in those moments, you're zoned out, you're doing whatever. But it was, it definitely reminds me of that drowsy driving.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has been awesome. I've learned so much about all sorts of resources we have in our community. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you for this podcast. Keep up the great work. And, drunk driving, impaired driving is is totally preventable. And so thank you for letting us share that message and share our youth-driven message, because there's so many wonderful youth in our state that are doing so many great things. And I thank you for giving me the time to share what they're doing.
Well, we greatly appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Polly, and you've just listened to Totally Preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable. Totally preventable. Totally preventable. Totally preventable.